The fire started at 2:14 a.m. Bethlehem Chapel had stood at the corner of Maple Hill Road for almost a century. White paint faded with time, steeple cracked, but the bell still rang every Sunday. People still prayed there, laughed there, married, buried. It was more than a building. That night, flames tore through it like dry paper. By sunrise, nothing remained but stone steps and a crooked iron cross half buried in ash. No one died, but something sacred was lost, and for Grace Mercer it felt like losing her mother all over again. She had grown up in that chapel, learned to play piano, in the choir loft, painted the nursery walls. She once fell asleep on the front pew during evening prayer as a child. She had walked down that aisle in a white dress and buried her husband behind the church in the quiet cemetery near the willow. She didn't just serve the church, she was the church. And now, it was gone. The town grieved. Insurance covered nothing. Rumors spread. Kids, Satanists, drifters, then nothing. For 4 years, silence. Until Evan Callister walked into a police station and said, "I'm the one who did it." He was 37, former addict, in and out of shelters, weathered face, wounded eyes. He looked older than his years. The officer who took his statement said he looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. He confessed without hesitation. He described everything, in detail. The broken lock, the smell of kerosene, the match. When asked why, he said only, "I was angry. I thought nobody cared. I thought God didn't see me." He told them he once came to the church, late, cold, starving, asked for help. Pastor told him, "We can pray for you." He wanted bread. He got scripture. He walked out bitter, ashamed. 3 nights later, he returned with fire. Grace read about it in the paper. She saw his mugshot. She recognized his eyes. And that night, she couldn't sleep. She walked into the field where the chapel used to stand. Just her, the stars, and the grave markers of saints long gone. She knelt in the grass, whispered prayers no one could hear. She thought of that night, the fire. She thought of the boy, because that's how he looked in the photo. Tired, angry, lost. She didn't feel rage. She felt sorrow. She remembered how many people the church had turned away over the years. Not just Evan. Addicts, runaways, divorced women, people with tattoos, people who doubted. Maybe he had come for bread and found the door closed. Grace wrote a letter to the district attorney requesting to speak at the hearing. Her friends warned her. Her neighbors didn't understand. But she wasn't seeking revenge. She wanted to look the fire in the eye and choose love. In court, Evan sat with slouched shoulders, avoiding everyone's gaze. He had prepared for hate, prepared for righteous fury. What he didn't prepare for was Grace. She stood when her name was called. Calm, soft-spoken, not broken, but full. She didn't read from paper. She looked at Evan and said, "You burned our church." But long before the fire, something was already broken. In you, in us, in how we forgot what the church is meant to be. She stepped forward. "You see a building you destroyed. I see a man God hasn't given up on." Evan trembled. Grace's voice didn't shake. "I forgive you. Not because I have to, because I was forgiven first." The courtroom froze. Evan raised his eyes. She walked to him, opened her arms. "I don't want justice. I want restoration." He couldn't move. His knees buckled. He collapsed at her feet, sobbing. Reporters didn't know where to aim their cameras. The judge called recess, but heaven was already speaking. After that day, Evan asked to join a faith-based recovery program instead of serving time in silence. The court granted the request. Grace wrote him letters every week, encouraging, honest, full of scripture, but also grace. 2 years passed. When he got out, he didn't run. He moved to a town nearby, took a job rebuilding homes for disaster victims, volunteered at shelters, and Every Sunday he attended a small church plant. Eventually he built a chapel himself with his hands. He paid for most of it with what little he had. But the sign out front said, "Bethlehem rises." On the day of dedication, Grace stood in the front. Oh, she wasn't crying. She was smiling. When Evan spoke that morning, his voice cracked. "I destroyed a place once," he said, "but she showed me that God still builds." He pointed to Grace. She didn't throw a stone. She extended a hand. The congregation stood in silence. That kind of forgiveness, it echoes through towns, through generations, through eternity. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is warfare. Against bitterness, against revenge, against despair. Grace chose to break the chain, and in doing so, she built something fire could never touch. If this story moved you, share it with someone who's still holding the ashes of their pain. If you've been wounded, if someone burned your trust, your family, your soul, ask yourself, could forgiveness be what sets you free? Let us know in the comments. And remember, the hardest forgiveness is often the holiest. And when you forgive the one who least deserves it, you become most like the one who first forgave you.